life's a beach and then you die. So why don't you just enjoy the moment and hang out with America's breeziest podcast, The Pod People. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and you know what? I'm about to die from lack of attention.
I'm Ben Sheets, but you can call me by my rap name, Midsize Sedan.
And that was my backup. So,
Cleveland's too old to keep up with us young bucks over here.
Hi, I'm Cleveland Mosier, and what did you say? What's going? Where am I?
It's okay.
Are you trying to steal my things?
It's okay, Grandpa. Let's get you back to the nursing home.
Hold on, let me stab you first.
Oh, man. Well, this is off to a great start. Well befitting.
Unlike the movie.
Yeah, well befitting the movie we're going to be talking about. You know, it's that time of year again when our old buddy M. Night rolls around and delivers us another work of confused masterpiece. I can't even say that with a straight face.
Nor should you.
Well, his most recent, I hesitate to call it a film, but for lack of a better word, we'll say that's what it is.
Movie.
Tour de Force.
Tour de Force, yeah. Magnum opus.
Man, more like Tour de Farts.
Oh, that's a good one. M. Night's latest tour de fart is the most memed film of the summer already.
Hell yeah.
And we're, of course, talking about Old.
That's it. That's the name.
Is about a beach that makes you old.
Guess what? That's all there is.
Obviously, I'll just go ahead and say it right now. From this point forward, spoilers.
If you care.
If you care at this point.
And honestly, I recommend you don't care for once. Normally, I'm the one who's really keen on the spoilers. I could give a fuck.
I will say, like, the spoilers in this, unlike most M. Night movies, I feel like for the majority of the movie, there really isn't a spoiler.
Yeah.
And then you get to the very end, and there's a very, very jarring spoiler that kind of recontextualizes the movie in a terrible way. But, like, the rest of it, it's in the name.
Yeah, like this is an interesting case in terms of M. Night. While I would say this movie fits in really well with his filmography of the last 10 to 15 years. It does not feel out of place in that regard. It also doesn't really have a twist. It's just confusing and stupid.
Well, it does have a twist, but it's so fucking obvious.
About medical ethics.
Yeah, like no, like Tease will confirm. Within like the first 5 minutes of the movie, I leaned over and was like, "It's an Umbrella Corps situation."
Well, I mean, they telegraph it
it's so
early
obvious.
on.
Like,
I mean,
it's not even,
It's like I wouldn't even say that by the time we get to that point at the end that it's really a twist. It's just like an added bit of convolution that they've thrown into an already incredibly messy movie. I think that this is maybe the stupidest film M. Night Shyamalan has ever made.
Glass is really stupid.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't seen After Earth or The Last Airbender or The Visit. I think those are the only movies of his that I have not seen, and he has some fucking stupid movies in his catalog, but I think this might be the dumbest. It is happening levels of stupidity, but less fun than The Happening is how I felt about it. What about you, Ben?
I actually think this is kind of middle of the road for Shyamalan.
Oh, really?
I think this is definitely a step up from Glass. I definitely think the dialogue is terrible and Happening levels at times, but it's not quite as funny. What's interesting about this movie is I think on a high level, conceptually, it's a really cool idea, right? Like, it's a really cool sort of existential horror and dread where, like, I think if it was in the hands of a much better director, like, it could be a really good movie. Like, could you imagine Ari Aster doing, like, a concept like this?
Yes.
Well, see,
it would turn out great.
See, that's the thing, and I'm glad you bring that up, because I agree with you, but I can't even say that that's to M. Night's credit, because I don't know if you noticed this, Ben, but we saw in the credits, and I didn't realize this, that the film is based on like a French graphic novel called like Sandcastle or something, which I know nothing about.
Sandcastle is also a much better name.
But apparently M. Night made heavy changes.
Like think about the name Sandcastle real quick. It implies like sandcastles on the beach, which are washed away quickly. Like,
Yeah,
and
they're fleeting.
I don't know a whole lot about the graphic novel, but I did a tiny bit of research, and the graphic novel lays much more heavily on the concept of just accepting it. There's only about one scene in the film where that's implied, but in the graphic novel, that's the whole point, is these people like really just learn to accept the aging. In that way, like it's much easier to approach as a metaphor for life.
Sure.
And the title makes even more sense, right? It's taking that's those small moments, and just to make a sandcastle and for it to be washed away, and there's a lot of beauty in that. And boy, howdy, did this film entirely miss that.
And instead, in this movie, there's just one part where they're like, "Hey, should we keep trying to get out of here? Yeah, but do you want to make a sandcastle first? Yeah." And then they do it. Like that's the whole like.
Yeah. Well, I did a little bit of research on the graphic novel, and there's some key differences, especially in the end of the graphic novel, that kind of recontextualize it and make it much more bleak, to the point where I think it would have worked much better in the hands of someone like Ari Aster, or someone who's not afraid to have a downer ending.
Man, something like that.
I think with Shyamalan, he has such a Spielbergian tendency to have a heroic, happy ending to his movies, to the point where, like, even if the movie shouldn't have one, he'll try to shoehorn one in. And I think that's kind of the fatal flaw of this movie. Not to jump to the end yet, but, like, I think this movie avoids being bleak where it should be. And it certainly does get bleak at times. There are some solid sequences of dread and body horror even, but it's not as much of a downer as I would hope.
And it doesn't help
like
it doesn't help that the acting is so wooden because it's badly directed and they're reading really badly written lines. So the moments that are that I think are supposed to be like more reflective and are supposed to have that kind of like bleak existential tone are totally undercut by the fact that I hate everyone in this movie. And all I was wanting the entire movie is for the beach to make them old faster so they can go ahead and die. You know what I mean? Like I think this is like, I don't think M. Night has ever been particularly good at writing dialogue, but I think that this movie has some of the worst written dialogue of any film he's ever made.
Ham-fisted. Like when they're on the bus, like going to the island, and the mom is like, "You're gonna sound amazing when you're older." Like, fuck you.
Yeah, the daughter's just like singing
we know what
along
movie
to some
we're watching.
Pop song. Well, and like one of the kids is like looking at their phone or something, and she's like, "Hey, you should look out the window and enjoy the moment, because the moment is all we have. Because we should just take time to enjoy what we have right now and not worry about other things." And this is like 5 minutes into the movie, and it's like, we get it. It's called Old. It's about a beach that makes you old.
Yeah, like we had to buy tickets to see it.
I think my favorite part of the scripting...
We know what we're watching.
My favorite part of the scripting was M. Night fumbling his way to try to write for a 6-year-old.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yes.
Dude, the man has children. Like you would think. You would think we would understand like what children like relate to in some capacity. But it's like kids don't fucking know like think about prom. You know, kids don't think about like these things.
Yeah,
they don't know what mortgages are.
No.
What are you?
Yeah, what the fuck is that
kid
shit?
is 6 years old.
Yeah, like he cannot help but like write characters from his perspective. Like none of the dialogue like sounds like it's coming from anyone other than M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep, every character has his voice.
Yeah.
And like that's been a problem that he's had with a lot of his movies. Like some of my favorite moments from The Happening are Mark Wahlberg trying to earnestly deliver badly written lines. The thing is, like, this movie doesn't even have anybody as, like, over the top and goofy as Mark Wahlberg. And, like, while I agree Glass was stupid, I think this is worse than Glass, because at least Glass had a small handful of, like, good actors. It's not like they were working with good writing, but, like, James McAvoy was trying his best. Like, bless him, he's doing a lot with what he has. I would say the same of Sam Jackson and Anya Taylor-Joy. Bruce Willis has never been a good actor, so it's whatever. But this is just like, these actors are just fucking terrible. I think Alex Wolff is like the best actor in this movie, but he does.
Man, he just can't avoid the terrible families.
Yeah, dude, he's just playing he's just doing the same thing that he did in Hereditary, but written worse. Yep. You know? And you know, he's trying, he's doing his best, but
No, I'm with Ben, though. Like, Hereditary, I left that one and I saw red. Like, I was so mad leaving that one. Glass. Thank you. Jeez, no. Hereditary is great. Sorry, yeah. You can leave that in. But, no, yeah, when I walked out of Glass, I was furious. And I think it was largely because it was based on his other films as well. Like, so there was those compounded problems.
Two of his better films, you know?
And then to, like, slab over it with laziness was, like, really unfortunate. Whereas, like, this film, at least, like, that it doesn't have that connection to the source material. And I guess this one does have a source material connection, but I'm not familiar with it as much. So, you know, I wasn't attached. But I can take it or leave it. But I personally, I think I'm with Ben. Like, this one, I was able to laugh at it a little bit more easily, like, and not just be, like, rage induced by, like, the horrible writing. Though I have decided that M. Night Shyamalan is my new nemesis. Like a cartoon villain. Like, I'm like Snidely Whiplash over here, like concocting my plan to, like,
he's your
to
Moby
stop
Dick.
him. Yeah, like, I need to stop him from making movies, and I don't know how yet, but I'm, like, working on some, like, my plan's gonna involve at least one giant laser. I haven't decided how yet, but the man must be stopped.
Just find
I
where...
just think he shouldn't be allowed to write his own movies.
No, dude, he absolutely should not. But that's the thing, is, like, he's written his own movies for what, forever?
Yeah.
Does he have any movies that he hasn't written the script for?
I don't know if he wrote the script for Avatar.
I don't think he's gonna stop now.
And Avatar has a lot of the sequences that are in the cartoons. It's just, like, really poorly cobbled together and whitewashed.
I think M. Night has a pretty solid sense of style a lot of times. He has a good tendency in this movie, and I think it's a tendency that works really well in the context of this film, to shoot behind people's heads, so you don't get a good grasp of looking at them in full.
Actually, no, I agree. Like, so the cinematography was all right.
Something else through their view almost, but over the shoulder. And I think that adds a lot of tension to this film. I like how things are pushed to the very edge of the frame a lot of times.
It did have some interesting framing, yeah.
I agree. I was actually I was a little tense during the sequence where the dementia doctor was, like, knifing the blind guy. That sequence was, like, pretty well, like, edited and shot. You're really afraid for him, especially because, like, they have, like, the regenerative healing, so you know that goes on for a good while. I did like that moment, like, in the movie. I will give this film that, and I think it's my one piece of praise.
Yeah, that's at the same time where like, the blonde supermodel mom succumbs to her calcium deficiency.
Dude, are we supposed to be scared then? Because that scene is hilarious.
Well, it's not scary.
The spaghetti woman.
It's not scary.
It reminded me of Suspiria.
It did. You know, it did. I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, but less horrifying. But, like,
like Suspiria, but done poorly.
Like, it's handled badly, but there is something about, like, the way that, like, she's just, like, contorting into a pretzel and, like, just, like, all of her limbs are breaking for no reason, except that she mentions at the beginning that she
found that pretty scary.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's something grotesque about it, and that's happening simultaneously with the schizophrenic doctor, like, trying to slash the dad who is going blind. Like, those two things are happening concurrently, and that like 5 minutes is, like, maybe the most tense the movie ever gets. And I actually think that for most of the rest of it, it's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Which is
I will say,
my problem with this, because like The Happening is stupid, but it's fun.
there's a few other moments that I think are really effective. For example, the mother has a tumor coming in to the beach, and the tumor is growing quickly, obviously because time moves very quickly on this beach. So they decide they have to cut it out of her. And they try cutting her, and it heals immediately because, you're on a beach where time moves really fast, things are going to heal really quickly. So they decide they need to hold the wound open while they get it out of her. And there's a moment where I think M. Night's instincts work well, even though the dialogue might not work completely well. But he almost tries to do something that was done in The Earth in a way, where he tries to prolong the tension of the scene by adding a sort of non sequitur in the middle. The doctor is about to cut into her, and then he stops and says, wasn't there a movie where Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson were in?
Yeah, if it wasn't so
together?
heavy-handed, I would have found that effective. Because, I do agree, I was laughing at the concept, I think, during that scene where I was like, oh, that's a fun idea, in the middle of, the tension to, have the person kind of get lost. But, it's done so ham-fistedly, it's so direct, the camera, punches in on his face, and we're all, all the characters kind of respond to it loudly. It doesn't carry the same weight as, the toe cutting scene
I
in
think
The Earth.
the instinct of putting that there to kind of break the tension and, in a way, prolong it works well.
Yes.
I think the dialogue itself kind of cuts the scene.
Yeah, it's goofy.
Absolutely.
I also...
I was laughing during that scene.
I also felt like and this is a problem that I had with a lot of the bits in this movie, is that the tumor scene, it happened and then it was over. There was virtually nothing leading up to it, and then it had no impact on the rest of the movie. And it's not the only time that happens, right? And also it's so quick. They cut her open and they reach in and just lift out the tumor. They don't have to cut it out. It's not connected to any muscle or fat. It's just a big fat free floating tumor that looks like a cantaloupe. They just reach in and pull it out. And then they let go of the cut. It heals back together instantly. That's it. That it has no impact on the rest of the movie. It's the same deal as when the girl gets pregnant. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay. But let's not just side on that one. That one. First off, it's that sequence is in the trailer, and I said this before I even saw the film, and sure enough, it was just like it in the movie as well. Vile, fucking disgusting. Put whatever you want in your movie, sure, but that was purely for shock value. Ugh.
That's the thing.
Here's what it reminds me of. Right, writing wise, the closest comparative I can think of is a fucking Sonic High School OC. It's gross and childish and stupid. I fucking abhor that whole sequence.
I mean, it's a horror movie, so if the movie was actually good, I could see using that premise for fucking horror, But it doesn't have, once again, any impact on the rest of the movie. The concept is that, of the two families, there's a little boy who grows up into Alex Wolff, and then there's the daughter from the other family, and they're both 6 years old, and they age, and they become teenagers, and while nobody's watching, they fuck, and the girl gets pregnant.
A 5 and 6 year old.
Yeah. Who are in the bodies of teenagers and their hormones or whatever. Whatever. But so she gets pregnant and the baby is growing really fast, and they have to, she has to give birth, and then when she does, it's not even on screen. It happens fucking off screen. You hear the baby crying, then all of a sudden it stops. They're like, oh my god, what happened? The baby died. It died from lack of attention. And then that's it. It has no impact on the rest of the movie whatsoever. We
do get that really funny shot of Alex Wolff taking the baby away from the girl later, and kind of pours it out, and it's just like
it's
dust
just bones.
coming
Yeah,
out.
it's just dust. Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have that callback, but it's like, what is the fucking? It's the same thing with the tumor thing. Like, what is the point of any of it other than to show that like time moves fast on the beach? What they figure out, whatever, is that something about the beach makes their living cells age quickly, and that 30 minutes is equivalent to a year. Then there's just some things that play with that, but have no consequence for the fucking movie at all. And goddamn it, the line, "the baby died from lack of attention." It's just,
So fucking stupid.
What?
What the fuck does that even mean?
So
what?
So this is a bit from the graphic novel that I actually know a little bit about, because they had the baby sequence in the graphic novel, but the key difference is the
that it
baby
meant something?
lives in the graphic. Sorry?
Is that it meant something in the graphic novel? Is that it had
Yeah,
impact on the
baby
rest of the
lives
story?
in the graphic novel, and because the baby lives, it leads to maybe the bleakest ending. The baby, you know, grows up by itself with everyone else
everyone
dead
else is dead.
on the beach, and he's just building sandcastles by himself, all alone.
Oh my god, that is so much more powerful.
Yeah. See, instead, like, they literally say time moves too quickly on this beach for a baby to survive. Like, that's what they say after it died from lack of attention. Like, what? They put the baby down on the fucking towel and it dies, and then that's just it. And it's like that, and like the tumor scene, and then like mid-sized sedan's girlfriend who washes up on the beach and then turns into a skeleton. Like, none of this means anything. None of it
Well,
has...
that's the thing, ultimately. I think the problem lies with M. Night ultimately being a crowd pleaser. You know, he's in the Spielberg sort of camp where, like, he doesn't want to ever go too dark with it.
Right.
You know, he ultimately, while he's swinging for the fences conceptually in his films, he doesn't want to ultimately upset his audience.
It has to be accessible
that's a
for
negative.
most people. I agree. Yeah, it means he's scared to take risks, because I don't think that anything he does in this movie is risky. I just think it's stupid. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I just can't get past the fucking baby.
That's it. Like I said, Sonic High School fanfic shit. That is what that is.
Sonic deviant art.
Yeah. Right?
yeah.
Like, that's the vibe I get off of that.
Shrek got Sonic pregnant.
Yeah. Like, it's nonsense and also, like, a little reprehensible. I don't like it.
It's certainly disturbing.
You know, but, like, it isn't, though, because, like, it's so, like, clearly done for shock value that, like, it doesn't disturb me. I just don't like it.
That's the
Like,
problem. It's conceptually...
I don't like it on paper.
It's conceptually disturbing, but...
Like, I can sit down and watch the scene. Like, I'm not, like, horrified or quivering or anything. I'm just like, this is fucking dumb. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's conceptually horrifying and disturbing, and if the film utilized that to try to say something, you know, to try to be thematic, then it would be one thing. There's plenty of scenes in movies that are uncomfortable to watch but are important to the film and make the film better for it, you know? But this is just like... It's just another set piece, something for us to breeze past, you know? And, I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be like, oh, time is so fleeting, we don't have time to worry about one of these things over the other, but it makes the movie feel so scattered. It's like none of the characters react to this kind of stuff emotionally either. You know, there's just no time for it. It's just on to the next thing.
When Alex Wolff is saying, like, we're gonna get married while she's giving birth, it's kind of demented in a sort of comical way.
Yeah,
I
well,
had a
I mean,
chuckle at that.
again, he's supposed to be 6 years old. So, you know, it makes sense that a 6-year-old would think, oh, yeah, we're having a baby, so we're going to get married together and live in our big house and raise our baby or whatever, because, like, that's the way a 6-year-old thinks. But it's just like, what? I have such a hard time, like, wrapping my head around the logic of such big chunks of this movie, because there just is none. What is the point of Midsize Sedan? Also, best rapper name of all time, am I right?
Dude, you know, like, I've really come around on it. Like in the movie, I was like, what the fuck? But like, the more I think about it, I might have to give that one. It is a pretty funny bit.
No, I mean, it's fucking funny, but I don't think it's supposed to be funny. I don't think it's supposed to be played for laughs. What it feels like to me is, and if one of you tells me that Midsize Sedan is the name of the actual character in the graphic novel, I'm going to lose my shit. But what it felt like to me is like Boomer.
Yes.
It's like a boomer trying to come up with like an ironic rap name. It's like,
well, that's because M. Night Shyamalan has mad boomer energy.
No, I actually disagree. I think this is the perfect name for him because he later talks about how his dad's a lawyer and his mom's an accountant. And so that makes him a fail son. And a fail son rap name works for Midsize Sedan. Like, that's a perfect fail son rap name.
I mean, I guess, but it like from a writing perspective, it just feels like like an old man being like, "Oh, what are the kids listening to these days? Some hippity hop mid-sized sedan cat, like that's what it feels like to me." And I think it's funny. I'm glad his name is Mid-Sized Sedan because it gave me one of the best chuckles in the movie, because like the daughter is the first one to recognize him because they just find him on the beach. She's like, "Oh my god, that's Mid-Sized Sedan," and Cleveland and I just looked at each other like, "That's who? That's what now?"
Wild.
But ultimately he's pointless to the film too. He doesn't do anything.
He gets murdered.
He gets murdered. Yeah, because the doctor is schizophrenic or whatever and racist, so he thinks that Mid-Sized Sedan is trying to steal from them, so he stabs him to death.
And like we don't really see him like age at all, even though he had been there the longest. And I know that they have like the black don't crack line, but like still, like we don't see him like gray hair, anything.
It's not enough. He was there hours before they were. In the beginning,
maybe a day.
The beginning of the movie is like him with the girl on the beach as the sun is coming up, and she strips naked and like swims out into the water. So like he has been there for at minimum like 4 hours probably before everybody else gets there, and he doesn't visibly age at all. And that's an excellent segue into another big problem I had with this film, is that the aging is wildly inconsistent across multiple characters. Some characters visibly age, some don't at all. And they age at different rates. Like, that's what's so fun. Like, the kids, they're there for like 20 minutes, and all of a sudden the kids are like teenagers, And then the kids stay that age for the rest of the movie as their parents get quote unquote old. They put some gray spray paint in their hair and draw some wrinkles on them. And then the parents die of old age that night, but the kids are still like teenagers. But then the next morning, then the kids are like 50. Like, there's no consistency whatsoever. You know what I mean? Yep. It's the same with Mid-Sized Sedan. We never see him age. They make a point in the movie of being like, okay, so we know that 30 minutes is equivalent to about a year. So then everybody should be aging at a similar rate. And if you don't have budget for that, then don't make this fucking movie.
Yeah.
But also, you're M. Night Shyamalan, so you have budget for that. Put more work into it, Get more actors to portray all of these people at different ages.
Or just do it
right.
Do what they did for The Irishman. The technology is getting pretty good now.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
It doesn't all look like the end of Harry Potter anymore. Like now, like you can actually do that like pretty decently.
Well, and the thing is, M. Night does a good job of hiding a lot of that throughout the film by shooting, again, over their shoulder, so you don't see their faces. It's just that it's inconsistently done. So a lot of that is inevitable. You can't hide people throughout your whole movie.
Right. At a certain point, like you gotta put in more effort. instead of just saying, this person's old now, even though they look the same as they did like 20 minutes ago in the movie.
You notice how the food didn't age?
Well, it's wrapped in foil or
Well,
whatever.
no, they explained that. It's the same reason their hair and nails don't grow. The beach only affects living cells.
It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That's so fucking stupid. Why?
Because of magnets and these special rocks.
He is literally insane clown posse. Magnets. How the fuck do they work?
They make you old if you go to this beach.
Yeah.
Like, that's your reason?
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the coral.
Like, which, by the way, coral!
We'll get to the coral. We'll get to the coral.
Okay, so we all had different predictions for this movie. And I do want to say that I was the closest.
You were the closest. You were the closest.
My prediction was, I specifically remember saying it's a longitudinal, latitudinal thing. It's just they're in this one spot on Earth where this happens to happen. And that was correct. What I did say is that there wasn't, like, I think I also mentioned that I didn't think there was going to be like a malevolent force or whatever, and they were just going to try and get out of there.
Well, I went back and edited that episode the next day, and you were half right.
Yeah.
You did say it was something longitudinal and latitudinal. You said ley lines, but you said that it opened a space-time rift. And that there was an artifact like at the center of this beach that would have to be destroyed.
Man, that would have been so much better too.
And in that regard, you were off. Like it wasn't a space-time portal.
My idea was too good.
It's literally the explanation is that. And they find this in like a diary that somebody else had left behind on the beach who is dead now or whatever, is that the precise magnetic location of this beach combined with the unique...
What the fuck is a magnetic location?
Whatever. That might not be the word they used, but... because of the Earth's magnetic pull or whatever at this specific location on Earth, combined with the unusual blend of minerals that were in the rocks along the cliff that surrounded this beach, caused living cells to age at an accelerated rate. What? Like we said at the end of the last episode, like we said, no matter what we predict, it's going to be stupider than what we predict.
And we were right.
Like I thought I was really going out there with like this, that it was a simulation created by people from the future. I thought
I wish it had been. Goddamn.
There's no way it's going to be stupider than
Ben's
that.
was good too. What was yours, Ben?
Mine was the bus to the beach crash, and it was sort of a DMT sort of life flashing before your eyes sort of trip.
That's nice too. Yeah.
That would have been a good one, but I don't think that would have ever been very likely because M. Night's already done that. That's the Sixth Sense, basically.
True.
So like I don't. But man. Magnets and special rocks is really what it was. That's really like
magnets.
That's
How the fuck do they work?
That's another reason why I link this movie so closely to The Happening, because The Happening is similarly stupid. Is that the trees are killing everybody, and this one it's the rocks.
The beach? Yeah.
What's gonna be
In a lot
next?
of ways, you could say this movie is The Happening meets The Village.
Yeah, kind
when
of.
you think about it. Yeah. And we'll talk about the twist later, but...
Quote unquote.
Or now. Do we have anything else we want to cover before we just get to the end?
Yeah, I have a couple other things. I wanna talk about sort of simultaneously some of the ways that they try to escape from the beach, and also use that as an opportunity to talk about my favorite character, Jaren. Which, first of all, not a name. Second of all, one of the worst performances in the movie, but I think that he is the closest thing we have to a Marky Mark in this movie, where, like, it's so over the top while simultaneously being so wooden that it ends up being confusing. I don't remember that actor's name, but he's the guy who plays Danny Glover's partner in the first Saw movie, the one who gets shotgunned to death.
Ken Lung. Kevin.
Yes, thank you. The only reason I remember his character's name, Jaren, other than the fact that it's a stupid name that's not a name, is that he says so many times in the movie, "I'm Jaren, I'm a nurse."
Yeah, and well, there's another Saw connection. Is that the subsequent film was directed by Jaron Lynn Bousman. So,
Oh, yeah, there it is.
yeah, Jaron sounds like Darren and Jared combined.
It sounds like Karen and Jared
Oh,
combined.
yeah, I hate it. But anyway, apologies if any of our listeners are named Jaron. Please reach out to us.
Listen.
And tell us you exist.
Listen,
We'll completely redact everything we just said, but
I get it. I'm named Matisse. What kind of name is that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have much room to talk, but I'm still gonna say, like, Jaren is not a name. But one of my favorite parts of the movie is when the doctor has, like, one of his like, sort of schizophrenic fits where he takes the knife and he starts, like, stabbing it into the ground. Like right next to Jaren, he's like, "Who are you? You're trying to break into my house and steal from me." And Jaren's response is like, he just freaks out. He's like, "I have never been to your house. I'm Jaren."
yo, but like
It's
how weird is
like,
it?
Who thinks that that's how a human speaks?
Well, here's what I don't get, right? Like, we have a bit at the beginning where the kids go around asking, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. What is your name and occupation?" And the kids go around doing it, but then the adults just do it? Like
Yeah.
they're children?
They spend half the movie being
But
like,
it isn't
"I'm
done
a
in like a
nurse.
nudge-wink kind
I'm
of
a
way.
psychiatrist. I'm a doctor. I work at a museum." That's the mom's thing. She works at a museum, and so she has seen a lot of ancient artifacts under glass, so she knows how to tell how old something is just by looking at it. She can look at it and be like, "Yep, that's old. I've seen that in the museum." Like,
I know what old is.
So you're right though. Like, so much of this movie is the adult characters being like, "I am such and such profession, which is why I know that this is happening." And like delivered kind of similarly to that too, right? You know, like Jaren's wife is like, "I'm a psychiatrist. Sometimes people have group hallucinations. Maybe that's what's happening to us right now. I'm Jaren. I'm a nurse."
Yeah, like just such like flat wooden characters. There's so little to go off of, like so little to care about when they're in danger.
And I think too is like in the context of the stupid movie, I think Jaren has the best idea for trying to escape the beach, but they just tell him that it's stupid and then they don't even try it. Do y'all remember
Well, it
this?
ends up being the actual way to escape.
I'm talking about like when
Not the
he's
swimming.
not the swimming, because that does end up being right because they have to swim through the coral or whatever.
Where well, the coral is like one of the first things they point out when they get to the beach. Like,
They're
hey, look at the coral over
hey,
there.
look at they literally say, "Hey, look at that nice coral over there."
I leaned over and I said, "Hey, look at like culminating plot thing."
Well, because the coral is CG, so they put it like
Yeah, it's
when
so,
you see
like,
it from a distance, like it's obviously CG. So
placed.
it's like, okay, of course the coral is going to be significant, but the reason they can't get off the beach is because when they try to leave the way they came, they get like intense headaches and black out. They figure out, Jaren does, because Jaren's a nurse, so he knows these things. But they figure out that it's because when they try to leave, their bodies can't adapt to like the change in cell growth, so it's overwhelming, so they pass out. They compare it to like trying to come up from the deep water too quickly and getting the bends or whatever.
Then how did they enter it? How did they enter it
Well,
then?
but Cleveland, you can swim down fast into the water. You just can't swim up fast.
But you're rapidly aging in either direction.
Jaren suggests, and this is what I think this is like the best idea that any of them had in the movie, is like, what if we just try to leave really slowly? We just take like one step at a time and give a few minutes for our bodies to adapt each time, and we just go one step, and like give our body time to acclimate. It's exactly how you come up from deep water and avoid the bends. You do so gradually, right? Makes sense. And they're like, we don't have time for that, Jaren. We're getting old. And then they just write it off. It's like, that probably would have worked.
They write it off and then like dick around with their own like personal dramas.
Yeah, and then he does exactly what mid-sized Sedan's girlfriend tries at the beginning, to escape by swimming, and then blacks out in the water and drowns. It's like, yeah, you knew this was gonna happen.
You're already swimming. Maybe investigate the giant weird-looking CG coral thing that's off in the distance, huh? What about that, bud?
Yeah, right.
You think about that?
Well, and then later his wife like loosely ties together 3 pool noodles with a scarf, and she's like, I'm gonna try to swim out now. With these, I'll be able to stay afloat if I black out. It's like, first of all, no, you won't. The pool noodles are not gonna keep your head above water. And then, before she even has a chance to do it, she just has a seizure and dies.
Yep.
None of it means
I feel like
anything.
a lot of the characters have crises. Like, she had a crisis about her sister. The other woman has a sort of midlife crisis about her old lover, Giuseppe.
Oh my god, Giuseppe. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank
what the
you.
fuck was
I
that?
forgot about Giuseppe.
What the fuck? Were we really supposed to, like, feel something in that moment? Was that the
Yeah,
design?
she was going off about how he was so ugly.
Well, and she's saying it to like the main character's daughter, and she says, when I was your age, I was in love with a man named Giuseppe, but the daughter is 11 years old. So she's saying when she was 11, she was in love with a man named Giuseppe.
Like, and also, like, she's an American. America's a melting pot, sure, but, like, how the fuck often do you come across someone named Giuseppe?
I mean, she did have
like a cartoon man, like such a cartoon name. Again, like, apologies to any of our listeners named Giuseppe.
She did have kind of a Brooklyn accent, so, I mean, leads me to believe she's from New York, a lot of Italians. Like, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that she might have crossed paths with a man named Giuseppe.
Like, Shyamalan has a weird thing with names, like the Scrunt. You know,
well,
I hate it.
I have some fun facts about the name.
It takes you out of it, like, immediately. Like, he's so good at, like, picking names that just take you out of the narrative. Like, Mid-Sized Sedan is funny, but it totally takes you out of the narrative.
Absolutely.
Like you have to look at this character's face and, like, try and take them seriously.
You have
to try and, like, take this story seriously, and she's talking about a man named Giuseppe. Like, what the fuck? Am I supposed to, like, really, like, listen to you right now, like, and not laugh? I'm supposed to feel, like, sorrow right now? What the fuck do you want from me, M. Night?
Fun fact about the name Giuseppe: a shortened version of the name Giuseppe, similar to the way that Bill is short for William, is short for Giuseppe is Beppo. And the only reason I know that is because the Italian-American casual family dining chain Buca di Beppo.
I'm sorry, what was that name?
You've never been to a Buca di Beppo?
Sorry, one more time, what the fuck?
Buca di Beppo.
Buca di Beppo.
I had multiple roommates in college who worked at Buca di Beppo, so they brought Buca di Beppo home all the time and gave me their leftovers. It's okay. It's like, it's Olive Garden, basically.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. But Buca di Beppo translates to Giuseppe's mouth. Because Buca is mouth.
No, I don't like that anymore.
But
I don't like that at all.
But it gets better. It gets better.
I don't want to go to anyone's mouth.
Because Buca does mean mouth, but it also...
Like boca in Spanish, right?
Yes, but it also translates in Italian to hole.
No.
So Buca di Beppo could also be roughly and badly translated as Beppo's hole.
Honestly, like, you know, I'm gonna be real though. Hole without the mouth connotations is like the swimming hole or the fishing hole.
That's not what I think of when I
mean,
think of
obviously
Beppo's
not.
hole.
Like
That's
Beppo's
not what I
hole.
think
It's like,
of.
hey, let's hike on down to Beppo's hole.
And
Let's
that's
do
not
some
what
fishing.
that's not what anybody's thinking of.
Like, let's go on down, but as soon as, like, I don't know, like, it's the mouth part that really bothers me. I don't want to eat at someone's mouth. I don't want to dine in someone's mouth. I don't want any of that. It's a bad name.
I don't want to do that at their hole either.
Yeah, this episode was not sponsored by a Bookity Bipple or whatever. Like, yeah, fuck that. I don't like that name. I liked it at first. It sounds fun when you don't know the meaning, and then it's horrifying.
Bookity Beppo. Well, that's the thing is, like, I don't think, like,
keep your Bookity far away from me. You
it's
fucking
an American.
Beppo.
It's an American chain restaurant, and I guarantee that 99% of the people who eat at Bookity Beppo do not know what Bookity Beppo means.
Yeah.
Which makes it funnier. It's like, hey, who wants to go down to Beppo's hole to get some lasagna? I'm trying to go down to Beppo's hole to shove some spaghetti into my hole.
Yeah. Pulling lasagna right out of the hole.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
Out of Beppo's hole into my mouth hole. Yeah. From Beppo's mouth hole to your mouth hole.
So yeah, she has this long monologue about how she used to date a man named Giuseppe, and we're supposed to feel feelings, I guess.
And then she tries to throw a rock at them, but drops it on her own arm, which shatters her arm because she
loudly declares.
She loudly declared at the beginning of the film that she has a calcium deficiency. So it turns her into Samuel L. Jackson from Unbreakable and Glass at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. She becomes him. She turns into a pretzel.
I half thought, like, at the end she was trying to kill herself with the rock, but she couldn't do it.
Oh, see,
dropping it on her head.
I don't think so, because she was throwing rocks at the kids before that, and then picks up that one and holds it above her head like she's about to throw it at them, and it slips out of her hands and shatters one of her arms. But then, like, why did the rest of her limbs contort and turn into pretzels? Like, calcium deficiency doesn't do that. Like, I get dropping the rock on one of your arm and shattering, and it's like, oh, she heals so fast it healed back into the wrong position, so she's horribly contorted.
M. Night
but
has
then the rest of her limbs just spontaneously break and twist, and it's like, what is doing that to her?
M. Night has a track record of not doing his research.
Where, like, a character will fall down a snowy hill and turn into, like, one of those giant snowballs?
Yes.
It's like that, except she kind of fell down and just sort of rolled into a mound of flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm into it. Like, yeah, I can buy it a little bit, but like, yeah, like, M. Night has like never done his homework, and it's super apparent in this film. Like you were saying about the tumor, like they just kind of pull it out.
Yeah, it's not attached to anything.
Like they're playing Operation.
It's like that's not how tumors work.
Yeah, like, you know, like this character with her calcium deficiency, like, and DID in respect to Split, right? Like, he doesn't fucking do his homework about this shit. Like with Split, like I was saying before, like he brought on like a consultant and then never met with him.
Illness in this movie, huh?
Oh yeah, like with schizophrenia and like showing that. Like,
well, that's the thing.
Poorly fucking done too. Like, because he doesn't do his homework because he's so fucking caught up in his own ego.
Well, that's the thing. Is like what the doctor has doesn't seem to be schizophrenia at all. I thought it was early onset Alzheimer's because
that's what it is in the graphic novel.
Oh
okay, well, see that makes sense. Well, because he keeps forgetting where he is. He gets fixated on the what was the movie that Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson were in together? Like, he keeps coming back to that. But then at the end, they're like they mention that he was a paranoid schizophrenic, but he does like that's not schizophrenia. Like, he doesn't behave like a schizophrenic at all. He behaves like he has dementia, which makes much more sense in the context of the movie. Yeah, I think we can get into the quote unquote twist at the end, if you can even call it that, because I don't think it is.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll start.
Well, I think the perfect segue into that is talking about M. Night's self-insertion into the movie.
Yes.
He gives himself a minor role in this movie.
Well, as he does in all of his movies. But I think this is like the biggest role he has in any of his movies. It's still a minor role, but he gets a decent amount of screen time. And like most of his movies, it's like a throwaway. He's in like
It's a cameo.
yeah, it's like truly a cameo. But he did make himself a character in this movie, which is weird.
Yeah, normally Unbreakable, he's just like the guy taking the tickets. It's very Stanley
exactly.
or like any other director like that does a cameo in their films.
Yeah, he's the park ranger in the village, like in the village, you know, like it's all just like, it's like, oh, hey, it's M. Night, and then he's gone. And in this, it's like he's the guy who from the resort who drives them to the beach at the beginning, and then they see like somebody watching them from the top of the cliffs through the whole movie, and it turns out that that's him. Anyway, you wanted to segue into that.
So the kids finally try the coral. They finally
Can we talk about why they tried the coral?
What was they found the book, right?
Well,
No. On the bus ride there, his friend Idlib, the little kid who he made friends with, he was giving them coded messages.
More like ad
and
lib,
he stuck
am I
one
right?
in the backpack.
This movie felt
and
like an
it's
ad lib.
forgotten about for the majority of the movie until they're fucking 50 years old.
Yep. Their parents died of old age the night before, even though they didn't look that old.
Even though this is like his best friend, he doesn't even bother thinking about it.
Meanwhile, they do so many other stupid things during the film. When like clearly he's like super invested in the decoding. Like, and they had, like, ample time on the beach to do the decoding instead. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say that they were a little preoccupied by the fact that they were getting old really fast and, you know...
No, but they weren't, though. There's still so many times where, like... Also, the kids were, like, left unsupervised when, like, during an emergency, like, scenario.
Yeah, that's how the two kids fucked in the first place, because they were left alone for 5 minutes.
Gross. Like, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I have to say it every time. They at that point, like, they'd already established that, like, something was super fucking wrong on this beach, and they were getting old at an accelerated rate, and yet they never, like, considered their kids long enough to, like, keep them in sight. There was a crisis going on. You need to keep your children near you.
Well, yeah,
like in sight.
The girl who got pregnant tries to climb the cliffs and blacks out and falls to her death because she was unsupervised.
Yeah. The parents show up like halfway through and they're like, "Well, yeah, maybe get to the ledge." Well,
yeah, because she's too far up for them to stop at that point, and they're like, "Oh, well, if she makes it to the ledge, then she can stop and rest, and she'll be okay." And it's like, "Yeah, go," and then she passes out and falls and dies. But, I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say, like, okay, decoding a childish message from a little boy that was given to them the day before is probably low on the list of their priorities. Like,
sure.
we see at the beginning, like, one of the messages that he decodes is like, "I like ice cream," or something like that. Like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't think that that's going to be important. But it's after they finish building their sandcastle and they've learned after their parents have died, it's like, we got to savor the moment. That's why we're going to build a sandcastle. And he mentions, "Oh, you know, Idlib gave me a note to decode, and I never did." And his sister's like, "Well, why don't you do it now?" And so he does, and it just says, "My uncle doesn't like the coral." His uncle's like the owner of the resort or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, the coral. I forgot about that CG coral that's been out there this whole time that we pointed out at the beginning. Yep. Maybe if we swim through the coral, then it'll act as like a metal tube shielding us from the effects of the magic rocks or whatever." And they do, and it works.
So, but
Yay.
Before it works, they get halfway through it. This is, I think, the dumbest part of the movie in my eyes. They get halfway through it, and the sister gets caught on a piece of coral. Her swimsuit gets caught on a piece of coral.
No, the fucking shirt she's wearing over her swimsuit gets caught.
Like some of her clothing gets caught in coral. It doesn't matter.
She should have taken it off before they go swimming through the coral. That's why I'm drawing attention to it.
Sure,
it's fucking
but
stupid.
Yeah, it's beyond stupid. Anyway, so she's caught on the coral, and we cut to like M. Night's character, way up on the cliff tops, surrounded by like all sorts of surveillance equipment and, you know, other analyzing devices and whatnot, watching with binoculars. And they're caught on the coral, and like it's a moment of tension. And it cuts back to M. Night, and it's so obvious, like from the audience's perspective, it's like you're like, okay, these people are like right at the edge of escaping. They're in no way are they going to die there. You know, like it's not fucking happening. And
not in an M. Night movie.
Yeah, and I mean, not in any movie, not in a good movie. It's a non-starter. And M. Night's character turns around and he like contacts like the whoever, and he says, all right, well, they went through the coral, and I watched for a minute and 30 seconds. A minute and 30 seconds.
He's like,
I watched for a minute and 30 seconds. They didn't make it out of there. And then he, like, packs up his gear and fucking leaves. Dude, you could have finished your sandwich. Like you could have, like, just watched for, like, 4 more minutes. Here's the thing, right? He has all this surveillance gear, like fucking telescopes and shit up there, right? Like, watching these people. He can see that the coral has holes in it you can breathe through. Like, you can, he is looking down at it. Like when the kids like fucking poke their heads up and breathe again. Because that's the thing, is it cuts back to them. He gets her shirt off the coral or whatever. And before they even swim through the rest of it, they just poke their heads up, get a gulp, and then keep going. He knows there are holes in it. It is literally his only job, right? To like watch these people, survey them, and make sure they don't escape, right? Like, and he's like watching these people at the one place where they can actually escape, and like forgets about like the breathing holes that you can fucking see because he's too lazy to watch like, for more than a minute and 30 seconds.
Not even just the breathing holes. Like, no, it's like, oh, nobody's ever held their breath for a minute and 30 seconds before. Like, at least, seriously, at least wait 5 minutes.
Like, yeah.
If they've been underwater for 5 minutes and you don't see them come up again, okay, cool. You can maybe make an assumption that they're dead and move on. It was like, yeah, I watched for a minute and a half. They're definitely dead. It's like, oh yeah, they definitely couldn't hold their breath for 90 whole seconds.
It's like he definitely like look like, I think what happened is it was M. Night trying really hard to sound smart and being a total idiot about it, right? Like, he looked up, like, diving records or some shit, or, like, how long the average person can hold their breath underwater or whatever. And went with that instead of the obvious answer, which is 5 minutes, because like that's how long you wait.
Well, that's the thing.
You know, they needed to look at something.
They needed to get him out of there because if he'd been good at his job and stood there and watched, he would have seen them come up for air on the other side and get through it.
It's almost like it doesn't work at all from any angle.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, you're right. It's almost like this is a non-starter to begin with.
He has to think that they're dead so they can show up at the resort at the end and just give the diary they found to a random cop and be like, arrest these people. Like, that's the fucking stupid, like...
It's like the end of Cruella. Forced it is that they were asking everyone their name and occupation at the beginning.
Yep.
Just so they could know who the cop is.
Yeah, and also, like, what is the cop going to do? He's there on vacation, obviously from somewhere outside of whatever country this is in. He doesn't have jurisdiction here. What is he gonna do? But that's all it takes is them being like, I went to the beach with my family. I was 6 and now I'm old. Here's a diary that I found with the names and addresses of all of these people who have gone missing. And he gets on the phone. He's like, yeah, we gotta get out here and arrest all of these motherfuckers. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Who is this cop? Super cop? He has jurisdiction everywhere?
Here's the problem. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think this is the right time to bring it up. This movie is a 30-minute Twilight Zone episode.
Yes.
It's a 30-minute Twilight Zone episode from someone who does not know how to actually decompress that time.
It's a 30-minute Twilight episode from the recent Jordan Peele produced Twilight Zone reboot.
I haven't seen it. I hear it's not good, but
I've seen one episode and it sucked.
Yeah, that's a shame. Because I was actually going to mention too, in a positive light, Jordan Peele's films, which also are
he's produced some bad shit, but the stuff that
he's directed,
makes,
yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
So
important distinction.
So with Us and Get Out, like those are also like essentially like decompressed Twilight Zone episodes. But he understands like the human element. He understands like how to tell a narrative that is more about like the finale.
And because the thematic elements of those movies actually also have a meaning. He's trying to say something with it.
Yeah, and like
what's M. Night trying to say?
Deeper
Appreciate
allegories.
the moment?
Right, well, like here's the thing is like there is a deeper allegory in that, like Ben was saying at the beginning of the episode, like there is something to that, especially if you just focus on the allegory. Like if you allow the film to be more about the metaphor and just take it just get a little more artistic with it. Right? Like you have a good story, but instead it's so popcorn. It's so like fucking based. You know?
Instead all it is damn, if you don't appreciate the moment before you know it, you're going to be old. Sometimes it do be like that. Like that is as deep as this movie gets. And it's like it feels apropos for this point in M. Night's career because like he's obviously getting old himself, and also like he's not really relevant anymore. Like people still go to see these movies, but like M. Night has not been like the hot thing out in Hollywood since like 2003, you know? So like this whole thing just feels like, damn, getting old. You know, children get older. I'm getting older too. You know, like
well, if you really want to get pretentious about it, having M. Night place himself as an observer.
Yes, I was gonna say that too.
This whole film is very self-reflexive in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, when, you know, we don't see that it's him up on the cliffs watching until, like, we see that somebody is up there watching. But we don't see it's him until the end when they're swimming through the coral, and the reveal shot is, like, him looking through a camera lens at them. It's like, oh, get it? Because he's the director. He's also making the movie looking through a camera lens. Isn't it meta and self-reflexive? But I'm getting old. I don't know what I'm fucking doing anymore. Where am I?
Yeah, I
like
think
that's what it really feels like.
Yeah, maybe M. Night like spent some time on this old beach and is like
this movie
trying to cope.
This movie does feel sort of like the ramblings of like an old man, you know?
Yeah. Dude, you were telling me about a really funny meme you saw.
Oh yeah, I saw on Twitter today that somebody tweeted, I wish I could remember who it was. They said M. Night came up with the idea for this movie when he went to the beach one time and was swimming and his fingers got all pruny and he was like, oh shit.
Oh man, there have been some good ones. I've seen some Fast and Furious crossovers. I've seen a lot of good old memes.
Yeah, man, this is like
it is about family. If you think about it,
it is. Hey, man, the whole thing's about family. It's all about family and family getting old, and I'm getting old. I did feel like I kind of aged watching this.
I aged 2 decades in that movie theater. I swear to God, I was aging faster watching that film than the people on the beach.
I spent so much of this movie going like, "What's going on?" that I felt like
this movie gave me dementia.
Yeah, I felt like an old man with dementia. Where am I? What's happening? Who are these people? Yeah.
I won't fall for it though. It's that M. Night didn't know, not me.
I'm scared.
I swear to God, yeah. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, in that sense, it's effective though because he projected his dementia onto me. I felt it.
You said something really good after when we were in the car on the way back, and I really liked it. And that was, I think to quote you, I think the most unrealistic thing about this movie is that the pharmaceutical company actually wanted to help people.
Yeah, yeah, dude. That's the quote unquote twist is that the pharmaceutical company that runs this this resort uses the beach as a way to do like long-term drug trials in a short period of time. So they find people who are sick and invite them to the resort. That's what we find out about everybody, almost everybody. All of these families has somebody who's sick. Jaren's wife is an epileptic. The mom has the tumor. The doctor is a schizophrenic, apparently. The hot model has a calcium deficiency. So they dose them with experimental drugs and see how they work on the beach. And they're like, oh, this one was a success. The psychiatrist didn't have a seizure for 8 hours, which is the equivalent of 16 years. We cured her epilepsy, even though she died of an epileptic seizure in the movie. They didn't cure her epilepsy.
No, but like, okay, so what I will say, like, that actually makes sense, right? Like, they're trying to do prescriptions for people who age at like a normal rate of time.
Of course.
Right? So like the idea of giving a person like one prescription that lasts them like 40 years or whatever, like to cure their epilepsy is pretty rad.
Yeah,
you just
sure.
give it to them again.
Sure, but I mean, I guess my disagreement with this is semantic. But if that's the case, like,
This
I agree
whole movie
with
is
you.
semantic.
But then say, we found a way to treat epilepsy long term. Don't say we cured her epilepsy, because you did not. You did not cure it.
Okay, that's very valid. Yeah.
You know, that's my problem with it. But they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a moment of silence for all of these people who died on the beach, which is everybody they've ever sent out there. By the way, and they mention that this is like the test group like 70 something, so they've killed hundreds of people at this point, but they're like, the drugs we're making by killing these people are gonna save millions of lives. It's like, what the fuck kind of pharmaceutical company is this? Like, they want to help people? What? It's like that is the least realistic thing.
No, yeah,
because
like have you like held a fucking lens to like the pharmaceutical companies in the U.S.? That is not the
it's
goal.
It's not about curing anything. It's about treating the symptoms so you can keep people sick, so they're dependent on your expensive ass drugs. Like the idea that they're be like, oh yeah, we're helping people. We cured this woman's epilepsy. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, well, it's so jarring, too, from kind of a nuanced metaphor on aging and kind of the nature of getting old to suddenly taking a left turn and becoming a movie about medical ethics.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't have anything to say about medical ethics either. No, it has nothing to say about it. It's just tacked on, which is why I hesitate to even call it a twist. Because also, as you mentioned, Cleveland, like, it's telegraphed at the very beginning of the movie when they find a brochure in their hotel room, and the dad is like, oh yeah, this pharmaceutical company. I've been thinking about telling the people that I work with to use their medicine to improve their insurance rates or whatever. It's like a super wooden very out of place line that doesn't fit in with the context of the conversation they're having.
Yeah, so it sticks like a sore thumb.
So it's like, oh, okay, you want us to know that there's a pharmaceutical company involved with this resort.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Like any other director,
so they're obviously responsible for whatever's happening on the beach. Like that's It's not even a fucking twist.
No, any other in any other director's hands, that would have been a red herring.
Yeah,
that would have been the moment. We would have been led to believe that, but actually, like, it's the opposite. But nope. It just is. It's an Umbrella Corps. Okay, cool. Like, literally, it's Umbrella Corps, because, like, Umbrella Corps, like, is a pharmaceutical agency in Resident Evil. Like, that's the whole thing.
But they're also trying to make a zombie virus over and over again.
Yeah.
Which this company isn't doing. This company's trying to help people, Cleveland.
Yeah.
They're trying to cure epilepsy and other things. Unrelated to anything, and also not even a real complaint, but I couldn't get over the fact that, like, the parents of, like, the main family in this movie, the parents are just, like, they're both ambiguously European for no for no real reason, and like it's not really a problem. I just thought it was funny because they're like, oh yeah, we're from Philadelphia. It's like the kids have American accents, and like, oh yeah, we are the Miller family, we are from Philadelphia. And it's like why are these protagonists just ambiguously European?
Like odd for the protagonists, like because we don't get like we don't really get their full backstory in that respect. But like for characters in general, I kind of like that, honestly, because it's like, yeah, either your parents were immigrants or like you were immigrants or whatever, but like right now, like you're from Philadelphia, and like that's okay.
I mean, yeah,
I'm kind of into that. But
I get it. I myself have dual citizenship, and when people ask me where, and I was not born in America, but when people ask me where I'm from Alabama because that's where I grew up. Like I get it. It's not like I said.
Damn though, you know like big move on your part. Like you have an option to not say you're from Alabama, and you still do. I respect that, honestly.
Well, I didn't used to. Like when I was a teenager, I thought it was way cooler to be like, yeah, well, I'm from Holland.
I mean, shit, I'm an adult, and I think like that's better than Bama. Like,
yeah, but then it's like I lived there for 3 fucking years before my family moved to the States. I don't speak Dutch. Like the
yeah, you're kind of in a bind.
Like that's the thing. Like saying I'm from Holland feels like I'm being a poser. Like yes, it's technically true, but I haven't lived in the country for the vast majority of my life. I don't speak the language. Like I'm not really, you know? So it is what it is. And that's why it's a fake complaint about the movie because it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter where these people are from. Yeah, they live in Philadelphia. They're from Philadelphia. I just found it kind of distracting that like both of the, not just one, but like both of the parents are just ambiguously European.
Hey Tease.
Yeah.
When you get sauced, are you hollandazed?
Yes. Yes, I am. Do y'all want to rate this movie?
I do. It's time.
Yeah.
Ben, why don't you go first?
Okay, so lately I've been watching The Twilight Zone. Quite a bit of it.
The good one?
Not the original Twilight Zone, and not the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone, but the Twilight Zone from the 90s.
Oh, nice.
Hosted by Forrest Whitaker, where the theme song is done by Jonathan Davis of Korn.
Awesome.
So I've gotten familiar with kind of all the concepts of Twilight Zone, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said this is a Twilight Zone movie in a lot of ways. But what I will say is this has the artifice and the style to kind of elevate itself beyond a shitty 90s Twilight Zone episode. So I'll give it that.
I mean, a shitty 90s one, but like the OG Twilight Zone is good. Like
they take some narrative jumps, and again, M. Night can't help himself to not put in a Spielbergian ending, and that tendency is still there for the worst. But you know, I didn't hate this movie. Honestly, if this movie would have ended on the beach with the 2 kids in their 50s building sandcastles, I probably would have given this like a solid 3.5.
Oh, wow.
But with that ending, I gotta take off at least a star. So that's going to be a 2.5 out of 5 for me.
Cleveland?
Yeah, largely agree. Yeah, when I say Twilight Zone, I definitely mean like it's conceptually like you're about in line with like any of the other like Twilight Zone episodes. But the reason why like those classic Twilight Zone episodes work is they're 30 minutes long, right? Like you're hit with the concept and you're usually left reveling in the twist as the credits roll. So like there isn't really time to take it all in. But when you have to sit in it for 2 hours, the whole thing changes. Yeah, there were a couple of good moments in this film. Like I said, like the cinematography here and there. But the dialogue was so fucking ham-fisted, and I just bad. It wasn't entertaining though. I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry watching this movie. I did have a bit of a fun time laughing at it because it sucks. If it had made me angrier, I probably would have just gone with a 2. But no, I think I'm going to mirror your score, Ben. I think I'm going to do a 2.5. It sucks. It's not a good movie.
No, and I'm honestly kind of surprised to find myself on the lowest end of this spectrum.
Hell yeah, do it, brother. Salt the earth.
I mean, I don't know if it really requires salting the earth. Like, it's
okay.
It's par for the course for M. Night. A logical progression of his sort of like nonsensical way of storytelling, but just getting lazier as he gets older. You know, like I definitely had a small handful of like really good laughs out of this thing, but honestly, in terms of entertainment value, for me, the movie's biggest sin is that I think it's boring. Like, I wasn't mad at it, but I didn't find myself like engaged with it pretty much at all. Like, there are a couple of like well done sequences, but like, I don't know. I just found it not entertaining. As dumb and messy as I expected, or maybe even a little bit dumber, but not as fun as I was expecting. I was looking for the happening, and I got the happening in terms of how stupid and confusing it was, but not in how fun it was. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5 out of 5.
Hell yeah.
I did not like this movie.
Do it.
But between the three of us, that will give Old an average of 2.2 out of 5 pods. I can't get past the title. It's just old. Well, next week we are continuing what is going to turn out to be a very long string of new films.
Hell yeah.
Cinema is back, boys.
Movies are back, baby.
We're eating again.
I think like all the way up through like September into maybe all the way up almost all the way through October with a couple of breaks in between. It's like pretty much like all new movies.
Yeah, I think we have 13 new movies left in the year.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them coming, and
my next pick was going to be a new movie too. That's the thing. Like there's still some that that are not on that list that I want to cover.
And my
that are
last
new, and it kills me.
And my last pick was also a new movie.
Yeah.
So we eaten. But
Hey, yeah. To our Patreon listeners, yeah, if you want to pick either Caveat or I don't think I'm allowed to do this, but I'm doing
Cleveland,
it anyway.
you will have another pick
Caveat.
before the end of the year. You can pick Caveat yourself.
I like the big classics, tease. I like the classics.
Well,
Caveat or what's the Red Skull murder one? I forget what it's called. But
If you can't remember the name,
if you can't
it looks
remember the
really
name,
cool.
not
yeah.
worth watching.
Crimson Death Monster. It's got a cool name. I forget what it is, but it looks fun.
Pick them yourself.
Skull the Mask. That's it.
Pick
Yeah.
them yourself. They're
No,
your
I haven't
picks.
seen it. It looks fun though.
Anyway, next week is the new David Lowery film, The Green Knight, which is, it doesn't look like it's turning out to be like real horror, but it's dark.
I don't care.
It's dark fantasy, so it's close enough. It looks great. I'm really excited.
I'm over the moon.
I'm stoked. So join us next week for The Green Knight. Cleveland.
Sponsor. We gotta do
Sponsor
a sponsor. That's right. What do you got for me? Oh, sponsor shelf. This episode, what the fuck? This episode was brought to you by running your galleon aground off the coast of Tangier. Have you ever run your galleon aground across? Aground? Off? Oh yeah, have you ever run your galleon aground off the coast of Tangier? Well, if you have, fear no more.
Did you run your galleon aground on the beach that makes you old?
Yeah. Fortunately not. Otherwise, I would have never returned. Though there is coral there, so you would die. Or your ship would run aground there. It would just sink, frankly. But anyway, yeah. If you have, you should purchase Lowry and Laurel's coral lube to get your ship nice and slip.
I see you added a sponsor to the sponsor.
Yes, I did. I got a little improv in there. I mean, not that I improv. These are all read. These are all readings. But anyway, get Lowry and Lorable's horrible fucking lube or whatever I said, and
consider running your
slip up
galleon
ship.
aground.
And it will slip up your ship so it doesn't run aground. it's too slippery.
No, but the sponsor is running your galleon aground. We have to encourage people to do it. That's the point of a sponsor.
Well, you should try and do it. We dare you to do it after using this other product.
Listen.
See, the 2 for 1, Tease. I'm trying to get that money.
The beach that makes you old is out there somewhere. Go try to find it.
Yeah, and then run your ship aground, I guess.
Run your ship aground and get stranded, and then don't worry about it. You'll be dead pretty soon, because the beach makes you old.
Unless you have lube.
Oh, okay. Well,
And get right out of there. You just slip on out.
that'll bring us to the end of this week's episode. If you want to support the show, the best way to do so is to head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and a nice review.
Yes.
We are also on Patreon at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. We have 3 different levels that our subscribers can subscribe to. If you want to support the show with a monthly monetary contribution, shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam Simon and Sarah Morris. And if you want to join their ranks, you can do so at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. You can follow us on Twitter at podpeoplepod, and check out our Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod. You know where it's at. And over there, you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about with our average ratings and links to those episodes. You can follow me on Twitter at SomeSpookySnake.
I'm on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And I'm occasionally tweeting for Light Arc Studios as we put out progress on It Stares Back. Let all the lovely tingles come across your spine, or however the fuck ASMR works, as I talk very closely to the mic. You can also find my work on ArtStation if you search Cleveland Mosier, and you should definitely check out It Stares Back. It's super cool. And also Realms Deep coming up at the beginning of August is the 13th through the 15th. You should definitely check that out. It's going to be really cool. Where we have a trailer for It Stares Back that's going to be really neat. And also you can see my work for Dread XP on Spookware, and I can see how uncomfortable this is making you, Tease it. It's really funny.
Yeah, I don't like ASMR, and this is driving me crazy.
Neither do I.
It's really funny. Anyway, okay, no, I'll stop tormenting our listeners. But anywho, yeah, you can also find my work on ArtStation, and keep an eye out for Spookware as well, which is like WarioWare but with spooky Undertale-esque skeletons. You really can't go wrong with that game. It's amazing. I'm super excited about it, and yeah, that's going to be coming out at the end. Soon. I don't know if I'm
At the end of soon.
At the end of soon. So stay tuned for that, folks. And that's it from me.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. It's time for me to go pop out my dentures and change my shitty diaper. Where am I?
And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you. But time